Hello, Faith Moms. Welcome back to Mothering by Faith. So today, our second run copies of our little book have arrived. Ta-da! So thanks you so much for everyone who purchased this little book. Because of your support, we've finally restocked after 2 months. So if you're looking for an intentional and purposeful gift for fellow moms, um, I recommend you giving the gift of a nurturing book. So this is Mothering by Faith, embracing the sacred work of motherhood. So last 2 weeks ago, life got in the way. You know how it is as moms. Our time is just dictated by our children's needs. So I wasn't able to continue um, the the series that I promised. I wasn't able to continue last week, so we're doing that again. Hello. I hope my microphone is working well. So I think we started with chapter 1 already. So chapter 1 is a mother's offering, and the part 1 of it is the holy calling of motherhood. So as I've shared, um, this book was actually based on my husband's preaching on the life of Hannah. Okay, Hannah's motherhood had three key characteristics that I noted here. So firstly, Hannah was a mother who gave a vow to God. I hope it works. It's working well. Hannah was a mother who gave her child to God, and Hannah was a mother who gave herself to God. So, in my opening lines, I said here that the greater gift is the calling of motherhood itself. I feel deeply honored to be specially commissioned by God for His kingdom work in the lives of my children. And the same words echoes for your own calling. Oh, my camera is here. For your own calling, mother. If God made you a mother, it means He commissioned you to kingdom work in the lives of your children. And it's a beautiful privilege. It's a sacred responsibility because our highest calling as mothers is to lead our children to our Lord Jesus Christ. Dear mom, I want to encourage you to embrace your role as a beautiful and sacred calling from God Himself because He is the author of life. You did not become a mother by accident or by chance. You were handpicked by God to raise your children and nurture their souls. That's why motherhood is holy, and truly motherhood is holy work, even though it could get monotonous at times. But what we do, even the mundane things of mothering and homemaking, they're part of our ministry as mothers, and He has called us to advance His kingdom, His work, the gospel, to advance the gospel of Christ right here, beginning with our homes and families. So a mother who vows before God. So that's the second part. I don't know if we're gonna do chapter 2 today. It depends on how long will my baby girl allow me, because she's napping right now. But part two is a mother who vows before God. So I said here that during my first pregnancy, I found myself identifying with Mary, the mother of Jesus, more because um, somehow, like her, I didn't expect to become a mother so soon. Honestly, it was unplanned, but it's the best thing ever. Um, we're so blessed that you know, God's timing panned out in our parenting journey. And we were firstly anxious and afraid of many things because we didn't have a clear vision yet of how to start our family. But yeah, I was just anxious about everything: our finances, our readiness, our maturity, and the responsibilities that lay ahead. But as my pregnancy progressed, God began to reveal to me, the beautiful work of motherhood, and how ultimately I've been repeating this, that motherhood is being fathered by God. So even though, we don't know a lot of things, we're inexperienced, God was growing us, equipping us as we go in our parenting journey. Yes, we prepared as much as we could, but there are just things, that you'll understand and know, um, in the field, training as you go. And I started to admire Mary's servant heart even more, especially her response to the angel's word, "Be it unto me according to your word." And becoming a mother really taught me a lot about servanthood, about being ready to say yes to God's calling, to his purposes and his will in our lives. It's not always easy, but as we continue in our journey as his disciples, continuing in growing in obedience, um, we will know that no, God doesn't leave us to our own devices. No, motherhood is probably one of the hardest works that I'll ever do in my life. But as I serve him this way, he will not leave me, abandon me, to do this great, great and holy work. Is my baby crying? And when our son turned 18 months old, I believe that was the first time that my husband and I had a real conversation on having a second child. So honestly, in that time, I was still quite unsure. Um, I just really haven't really given it a deep thought because I was in the thick of mothering a toddler and going through the pain of pregnancy and childbirth. I wasn't I wasn't sure if I was ready to have another child, but there was a lot of things going on in my heart in that moment, and I thank God that He gave me clarity and also comfort and encouragement for. Okay, my baby's crying already. Part two is a mother who vows before God. This is my microphone. So, when my desire for a second child became firm, clear, and solidified in my heart, I made a vow to the Lord that because we prayed, we specifically and solemnly, seriously prayed for a second child and specifically for a daughter this time because He has blessed us with a son, and it's so special, and we're so grateful. And because we already have a son, we naturally lean towards desiring for a daughter. And we sincerely prayed to the Lord that He would give us a second child, and as I've said, particularly a daughter. And now I'm holding her in my arms, our answered prayer. And during that time of pleading with the Lord, it was truly humbling because, life is, a matter in that's really that's up to God. It's really a matter that's dependent on God's allowing. It's a matter of what God allows, gives, and provides, and we acknowledge that we have no control over life. If He will give us a second child, that's up to Him. If He will give us a daughter, that's up to Him. Everything really is a matter of His grace and blessing. So we sincerely prayed for a second child and a daughter whom I'm holding now in my arms. And that was the moment in my motherhood journey that I began to identify more with Hannah, as she also reading through her story. She desperately asked the Lord, pleaded with the Lord, begged the Lord for a child, a son. And I had that experience also, and I vowed to the Lord because I realized that we make vows about things we're serious about, such as marriage. My husband and I vowed to be one to forever, for life, to be together, to be one for life. And we made that vow because we were serious about that commitment. And although I used to fear promises, making promises and commitments like that, but um, it just goes to show that when you give a vow, you're really seriously committed about that thing. And because my desire for a second child was so deep and so great, my husband and I desired really for a second child and for a daughter. That's you, my dear Radiance. Yeah. we really pleaded with the Lord, Lord, please, if we find favor in your sight, if you would have compassion toward us and give us this desire, we vow, just like with our son, we vow that we will dedicate them to you, as firstly we dedicate our lives to him first. But it's just, a special commitment that I told the Lord that as a mother, as a woman, if he'd give me a daughter, I'd also raise her. Um, I'd also teach her everything that I've learned to be a woman after God's own heart. And that was my commitment. Lord, if you would give me a daughter, I know I will not be perfect, but I will always come back to this vow that I made with you, that I will do my best to teach her everything that I've learned from the scriptures on how to live as a woman after God's own heart. And that was my prayer, my vow. And when the Lord finally answered that, it was through, the gender scan at my 6 month appointment, doctor's appointment. And when the doctor told me, "Oh, I think it's a girl. Oh, it is a girl. Congratulations. What's the gender of your first child?" I said, "A boy." And she congratulated me, saying that, "Oh, now your second baby is a girl. So you have a boy and girl." And I was so happy. I was wearing a mask, but even though the doctor couldn't see my whole face, I can see through the mask. I feel like she noticed that I was smiling all the way because of the change in my voice. That I was just no, I was just so joyful during that time. Even now, I'm so joyful. But it was a special moment. A moment when you realize that God answered your prayer and request with a yes. That was a moment like that for me, that God heard my our pleading, before actually conceiving our child. I don't know, maybe we've been praying for over a year. I don't know, 6 years to 6 months. I mean, 6 months to a year. I don't know how long exactly, but we've been praying for a while, Lord, for this, for it to happen. And when we finally heard, I mean, I was alone in the doctor's appointment because my husband was at work. And when I finally heard that the doctor's words were, "You're having a girl," that was really a moment that I felt clearly that God gave me a yes for um, my pleading, my prayer, and I remembered my vow. Lord, because you answered my prayer, I remember my vow for the rest of my life that I will offer my children. And as a woman, I will disciple this girl to be a woman after your own heart. Of course, as mothers, we can only do so much. I recognize and realize that, we can't control the course of the lives of our children. Obviously, we can't even control ours, right? But we can do our part. The eternal destiny of our children, all everything, the course of their lives, they're at the hands of God. But we can do our part. We can do um, we can do faithful teaching, faithful discipleship over them, as God allows us to be with them for as long as however He allows, and we can do our part every single day. And that's what my vow is really about. For my part in this child's life, I vow to do it. I vow to fulfill it by, of course, His grace and mercy. So yeah, I think we won't get to chapter 2 today, but at least we've covered part 2, and I really want to keep doing this because as you as you know, I'm really passionate about this calling of gospel shaped family life. But yeah, I can only do so much also with 2 babies. So I hope, mothers, that you're encouraged and reminded to vow before the Lord, to do and fulfill our part. This calling that He has given us, um, it's all sustained by His grace and mercy. And He is also inviting us to this calling. He is inviting us to partner, to join in the work that He is doing in the lives of our children. And firstly, in our own lives, to to submit to the work that He's doing in our lives. And as we abide in Him, then He can use us, He can work through us. So, yeah. What, do you want to say something? What do you want to tell them? The mommy aunties. Hello, mommy aunties. See you next time.